Welcome back. Let's spend a minute thinking about tax revenue in our supply and demand diagram. So if we set up a supply and demand diagram, so we've got quantity, we've got price, a supply curve, a demand curve. Remember that when the government puts a tax in place, it drives a wedge between what buyers pay and what sellers receive. So the demand curve is separated from the supply curve by the amount of the tax. So how much tax revenue is generated? So remember that revenue is equal to price times quantity. So if we think about this in tax terms, right, tax revenue is equal to the tax times quantity. All right, so where can we see that over here? So remember this wedge driven between the demand curve and the supply curve, that's the amount of our tax. Right, so this distance between, that's the amount of our tax. And when the tax is put in place, how much is sold? Well, it's the quantity where those two curves are separated by the amount of the tax. So this is our quantity with the tax in place. So where is tax revenue then? Tax revenue is going to be this rectangle, right? The quantity times the tax gives us this rectangle. That's our tax revenue, right? That rectangle is tax revenue. Now in other videos, we'll talk about how that revenue is split between the buyer and the seller. But the important point for us is that that's our revenue. And now we can think about efficiency of a tax. How much is the cost in terms of consumer surplus, producer surplus, economic surplus? What's the cost to society of raising that amount of revenue? Hopefully you're real clear on where tax revenue shows up in this diagram, because we're going to use it in other videos. Thank you, and we'll see you next time.